The red warning lights had been blinking for 3 months now. Admiral Kate Reynolds pressed her palm against the cold metal wall of Terra Command and stared at the empty star map. Where the Ninth Fleet should have been, there was nothing but dark space and unanswered questions. Earth's most powerful naval force had vanished without a trace. 50,000 men and women, 300 of humanity's finest warships, and Admiral Rick Barnes, the only human commander who had ever made alien forces retreat. All gone. Kate remembered the day they left. The massive ships had filled Earth's sky like metal clouds, their engines burning bright enough to turn night into day. Every human settlement from Mars to the outer colonies had watched them go. Children had pointed at the sky and asked their parents when the heroes would come home. Nobody had expected silence. Dr. Amy Foster walked into the command center carrying a datapad that might as well have been a death certificate. "Still nothing from the deep space monitoring stations," she said. "No subspace signals, no quantum signatures, no debris fields. It's like they never existed." General Marcus Webb turned away from the tactical display where he had been studying Coalition fleet movements. "What about the backup communication protocols, the emergency beacons?" "Dead air on all channels." Amy set the data pad on the central table. "Even the black box transmitters have gone quiet. Those things are designed to survive star explosions." Kate pulled up the last known transmission from the Ninth Fleet. Admiral Barnes appeared on the screen, his weathered face calm and confident. "Terra Command, this is Admiral Barnes. We have reached the Centauri expanse and are proceeding to deliver Earth's message to the Coalition leadership. We'll report status in 72 hours. Humanity's future is in good hands." That had been 93 days ago. The Coalition's response had arrived right on schedule, delivered by one of their sleek diplomatic vessels that looked more like a weapon than a messenger ship. Kate had read the message so many times, she could recite it from memory. "The primitive species known as humans will increase resource quotas by 40%. Failure to comply will result in immediate military occupation of all human settlements. The Galactic Coalition does not negotiate with inferior life forms. No mention of the Ninth Fleet. No acknowledgement that Earth had sent its most powerful military force to deliver an ultimatum. The aliens acted as if nothing had happened at all. They destroyed them," Marcus said, voicing what everyone was thinking. "Had to. Barnes was too good a commander to get captured and too smart to get ambushed." Kate shook her head. "Rick Barnes survived the Vegan Wars when everyone said it was impossible. He held off 3 Coalition battle groups at Proxima Station with nothing but mining ships and spare parts. If anyone could get out of trouble, it would be him." "Then where is he?" Amy asked. The question hung in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. Outside the command center's windows, Earth continued its ancient dance around the sun, but everything felt different now. Humanity had thrown its best punch and missed. Worse, they had lost their fist in the process. Tom Bradley, Earth's chief, military engineer, entered the room with the tired look of someone who had been awake for too many days. "I've been analyzing the Coalition's fleet movements since we lost contact with Barnes," he said. "They've been repositioning forces throughout the outer systems. Looks like they're preparing for something big." Kate studied the new data. Red markers showed Coalition ships massing at strategic points throughout human space. It was a classic occupation formation, the kind used when you expected resistance but knew you could crush it. "How long before they move?" she asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. They're bringing in heavy siege ships from the core worlds. The kind designed to crack planetary defenses." Tom paused. "Kate, if they come at us now, without the Ninth Fleet..." He didn't need to finish. Everyone in the room understood the math. Earth's remaining forces could hold out for maybe a month against a full Coalition assault. The orbital defense platforms would buy them some time, but not enough to matter. President Maria Santos entered the command center flanked by her security detail. Even Earth's most powerful leader looked small next to the weight of what they were facing. Options? She asked simply. General Webb activated the tactical display. We can attempt a fighting withdrawal to the inner colonies, try to make them pay for every system. We might be able to negotiate better terms if we make the cost high enough. Or, the president asked. Kate met her eyes. Or we activate Crucible. Protocol? The room went silent. Crucible was the plan nobody wanted to discuss, the option nobody wanted to consider. It had been developed during the darkest days of the Vegan Wars, when it looked like humanity might not survive its first contact with galactic civilization. Dr. Foster was the first to speak. Crucible was designed for total war scenarios. If we activate it, there's no going back. The Coalition will never trust human diplomatic efforts again. What diplomatic efforts? Marcus asked bitterly. They ignored our ultimatum, destroyed our fleet, and now they're moving to occupy our worlds. Diplomacy died with the Ninth Fleet. President Santos walked to the main display and studied the Coalition fleet positions. Dr. Foster, in your professional opinion as our chief xenologist, what are the chances that peaceful negotiation will prevent human extinction? Amy looked at the data, then at the Coalition's dismissive message, then at the empty space where Earth's finest defenders should have been. 0%, Madam President. General Webb, if we fight a conventional defensive war, what are our chances of survival? Marcus ran the numbers in his head one more time, hoping they would change. They didn't. Maybe 10%, and that's if everything goes perfectly. The president turned to Kate. Admiral, if we activate Crucible Protocol, what are our chances? Kate thought about the secret facilities hidden beneath Earth's surface. She thought about the technologies humanity had developed in shadow laboratories, the weapons they had tested where alien sensors couldn't reach, the plans they had made for the day when survival meant abandoning every rule of civilized warfare. Unknown. Madam President, Crucible has never been tested under real conditions, but it's designed to hurt them badly enough that they'll think twice about finishing us off. President Santos nodded slowly. Then we're past the point of half measures. She turned to address everyone in the room. The Coalition believes they destroyed our best hope for resistance. They think humanity will surrender quietly now that our teeth have been pulled. She paused, looking out at the stars where Earth's enemies were gathering their forces for what they believed would be an easy conquest. They're about to learn what happens when you back a human into a corner, she said. Activate Crucible Protocol. Show them what we really are. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, machines that had slept for decades began to hum with deadly purpose. Dr. Robert Chen watched the massive fusion reactors come online one by one, their blue glow reflecting off his tired face. 20 years of preparation. 20 years of building humanity's darkest contingency plan. And now the moment had finally arrived. The Crucible facility stretched for miles through natural caverns and artificial tunnels carved from living rock. Most of Earth's population had no idea it existed. Those who did know called it humanity's insurance policy against extinction. Colonel Lisa Park descended from the surface access tunnel, her boots echoing against metal grating. Behind her came 12 of Earth's most dangerous individuals. Special operations commanders, intelligence chiefs, and weapons designers who specialized in making the impossible seem routine. Status report, Lisa said without preamble. Robert gestured toward the main display, where hundreds of green lights were blinking to life across a three-dimensional map of human space. All sleeper cells are responding to activation codes. We have assets in place on 47 Coalition worlds, embedded so deep their own security forces don't know they exist. Engineer Tom Bradley looked up from a console covered in classified technical specifications. The Ghost Armada is ready for deployment. 3,000 stealth vessels built from materials that don't exist in Coalition databases. They've been hiding in the asteroid belt for 15 years, waiting for this moment. Lisa nodded. And our people on the occupied worlds? Dr. Amy Foster pulled up intelligence reports that painted a grim picture of human servitude across the galaxy. 17 million humans working in coalition facilities, mining operations, and industrial complexes. For decades, they've appeared to be compliant workers. In reality, they've been gathering intelligence and preparing for this day. The truth was almost too audacious to believe. For 30 years, ever since first contact with the Galactic Coalition, humanity had played the role of a primitive, defeated species. They had accepted occupation, submitted to alien authority, and allowed themselves to be used as cheap labor across coalition space. But beneath the surface of cooperation, humanity had been planning the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. Every human worker had been a spy, every mining facility had been mapped and studied, every coalition weakness had been cataloged and analyzed. What looked like slavery had actually been the most comprehensive reconnaissance mission ever conducted. Tom activated a holographic display showing the true scope of human capabilities. The Coalition thinks our most advanced weapons are chemical, rockets and kinetic projectiles. They have no idea we've been reverse engineering their technology for 3 decades. The display showed weapon systems that would have been impossible to imagine when humanity first encountered alien civilization. Quantum disruptors that could phase through energy shields. Viral programs designed to turn alien computer systems into weapons against their own users. Bioweapons tailored to specific alien genetic markers, dormant until activated by remote signal. Most impressive of all were the temporal manipulation devices, weapons that could attack targets in the past, creating causality loops that turned enemy actions against themselves before those actions had even been taken. How did we keep all of this secret? Asked Major David Ross, one of the Special Operations commanders. Dr. Chen smiled grimly. By giving them exactly what they expected to see. The Coalition believes they understand human psychology because they've observed us for decades. They think we're predictable, emotional, and inferior. They never looked deeper because they were convinced there was nothing worth finding. Lisa studied the deployment plans. What about our people already in place? Once Crucible activates, they'll be targets. They know, Amy said quietly. Every human in Coalition space volunteered for this mission years ago. They understood that when Crucible activated, there would be no safe extraction, no rescue missions, no way home. They accepted that this might be a one-way operation. The weight of that sacrifice hung in the air. 17 million humans, living ordinary lives as miners, technicians, and laborers, had spent decades preparing for a war they might not survive. Colonel Park activated the communication system that would send the activation signal across the galaxy. All units, this is Crucible Command. Authentication code Omega-77. You are authorized to begin Phase 1 operations. Repeat, Phase 1 is authorized. Across human space, the messages reached their destinations faster than light itself, carried by quantum entanglement communicators that the Coalition didn't know existed. On 47 different worlds, humans who had spent years pretending to be simple workers suddenly revealed themselves to be something else entirely. The first reports came back within hours. Mining Station Alpha 7 in the Vega system had gone, completely silent. Security recordings showed normal operations one moment, then static the next. 17,000 human workers had vanished along with every piece of mining equipment, every transport vehicle, and every kilogram of processed ore. Similar disappearances were reported across Coalition space. Humans weren't fleeing or surrendering. They were taking everything they could carry and vanishing into systems the aliens had never bothered to explore thoroughly. But Phase 1 was just the beginning. Tom Bradley activated the Ghost Armada launch sequence. In hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt, ships that had been invisible to Coalition sensors for over a decade began moving toward their targets. These weren't the crude vessels the aliens expected from humanity. They were technological marvels. that combined the best of human ingenuity with stolen alien science, powered by contained singularities and armed with weapons specifically designed to exploit Coalition weaknesses. The first ghost ships reached their targets before the Coalition even knew they were under attack. A patrol fleet near Proxima Centauri reported unusual sensor readings, then went silent. Deep space monitoring stations detected brief energy signatures, then nothing. Dr. Foster monitored Coalition communications as confusion spread through their command structure. "They're trying to understand what's happening," she reported. "Their fleet commanders are reporting impossible technology and tactics that don't match any known human capabilities." Lisa smiled coldly. "That's because they never knew our real capabilities. They saw what we wanted them to see. The true genius of Crucible Protocol wasn't just its military components. It was the psychological warfare that had been building for 3 decades. The Coalition had become so confident in their understanding of humanity that they had stopped looking for surprises. Their intelligence networks focused on tracking human compliance, not human capabilities. By the time the aliens realized they were fighting a completely different species than they had imagined, humanity would already be inside their decision-making cycle, striking targets the Coalition didn't even know were vulnerable. President Santos appeared on the command center's main screen, broadcasting from a secure location beneath Earth's surface. "To all human forces, in space and on the ground, this is your Commander-in-Chief. For 30 years we have endured occupation, servitude, and humiliation. We have bent our knees and bowed our heads while our enemies convinced themselves that we were broken." She paused, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's accumulated anger. "Today we show them the price of their arrogance. Today we reveal what humans become when pushed beyond all limits. The Coalition wanted to see our true nature. They're about to get their wish." The communication ended, leaving the Crucible facility in silence, except for the hum of machinery and the distant sound of launch sequences activating throughout the solar system. Colonel Park looked around at the faces of Earth's most classified defenders. "Gentlemen, ladies, we are now at war with an enemy that outnumbers us 1,000 to 1, possesses superior technology, and controls most of the galaxy." She activated the tactical display showing Coalition forces massing for their planned occupation of human space. "Our job is to convince them that none of that matters," she said. "Time to show these aliens what happens when they underestimate the species that conquered its own planet before it could even leave it." The emergency klaxon aboard Coalition command ship Eternal Glory had been wailing for 6 hours straight. Administrator Velquan of the hegemony species stumbled through corridors filled with panicked alien personnel, clutching damage reports. That made no logical sense. 17 separate mining colonies had gone dark in the past day. Not destroyed, not conquered, simply erased from existence as if they had never been built. Security footage from each facility showed the same impossible pattern. Normal operations one moment, complete abandonment the next, with every human worker and every piece of valuable equipment vanished without explanation. Velquan burst into the command center where High Admiral Mordak was studying tactical displays with the desperate intensity of someone watching his career dissolve in real time. The massive alien's 6 arms moved across control surfaces as he tried to make sense of reports that violated everything the Coalition understood about human capabilities. "Status report," Velquan demanded, though he dreaded the answer. "Worse than impossible," Mordak replied without looking up from his displays. "We've lost contact with mining operations on 12 worlds, orbital platforms around 6 systems, and 3 major shipyards. Every facility with a significant human workforce has either gone completely silent or reported total evacuation." The tactical display showed Coalition space as a 3-dimensional web of trade routes, military bases, and industrial centers. Red markers indicated facilities that had gone offline. There were far too many red markers. "What about our security? Forces? The garrison troops?" Mordak finally turned to face his subordinate, and Velquan saw something in the High Admiral's expression that chilled him to his core. Fear. Gone, Mordak said simply. Not killed, not defeated. Gone. Like they walked into their barracks one evening and stepped through a door into nothing. Before Velquan could respond, the communication system crackled to life with an incoming transmission from Patrol Group 7 in the Vega system. Captain Zilrath's voice carried the edge of barely controlled panic. Command, this is Patrol 7. We are tracking multiple unknown contacts emerging from the asteroid field. Repeat, we have unknown vessels of impossible design approaching our position. Mordak activated the tactical link. Patrol 7, identify these contacts. Are they human vessels? Negative, Command. These ships don't match any known human technology. They're beautiful, sir. Like nothing we've ever seen. And they're not responding to our hails. The transmission dissolved into static, then resumed with Zilrath's voice tight with disbelief. Command, these vessels just achieved impossible acceleration, curves. They're moving faster than our sensors can track. How is this possible? Humans don't have... The communication cut to silence. Admiral Mordak tried to re-establish contact, but the entire Vega system had gone dark. No response from Patrol Group 7, no signals from the orbital monitoring stations, no transmissions from the massive industrial complex that had been processing asteroid minerals for the past decade. Velquan studied the silence on the communication channels. How many ships did we lose? 12 heavy cruisers, 4 command vessels, and approximately 4,000 personnel. Mordak's voice carried the hollow tone of someone reciting his own death warrant. All destroyed or captured by an enemy that officially possesses no advanced military technology. The irony was bitter enough to taste. For 30 years, Coalition intelligence had cataloged human capabilities with scientific precision. They knew exactly how primitive human technology was, exactly how limited human tactical thinking remained, exactly how easily human resistance could be crushed when necessary, except everything they knew was apparently wrong. Another communication signal broke through the static, this one from the heavily defended Coalition shipyard at Rigel Station. Chief Administrator Kixara's normally calm voice carried notes of hysteria. Coalition Command, we are under attack by unknown forces. Repeat, Rigel Station is under attack. The enemy is using weapons that penetrate our shields without interaction. Our defensive systems cannot target vessels that phase in and out of normal space. Mordak leaned forward. Kixara, identify the attacking force. What species are we fighting? That's impossible, sir. According to our tactical analysis, we're being attacked by humans. But these humans have technology that exceeds anything in our databases. They're using quantum weapons, dimensional manipulation, and temporal distortion fields. The communication channel exploded with the sound of weapons fire and hull breaches. Through the chaos, Kixara's voice cut through one final time. Coalition Command, be advised. We have confirmed identification of the attacking force. The lead vessel is transmitting human identification codes. The captain is identifying herself as Commander Sarah Mills of Earth's Third Strike Group. A pause filled with disbelief. Sir, the humans have a Third Strike Group. Intelligence never reported the existence of a Third Strike Group. The transmission ended with the sound of something very large exploding. Velquan stared at the tactical display, watching red markers spread across Coalition space like a virus consuming healthy tissue. How many ships do the humans actually have? Unknown, Mordak admitted. Our intelligence estimated they possessed maybe 300 vessels total, mostly converted civilian craft. But we're tracking attack groups throughout 7 systems, simultaneously. Either they built a fleet in secret or... He didn't finish the sentence, but both aliens understood the implication. Either human industrial capacity was far greater than Coalition intelligence believed, or humanity had been playing a much longer game than anyone had imagined. A new communication signal burst through the command center's speakers, this one, broadcasting on all Coalition frequencies simultaneously. The voice was human, female, and carried the calm confidence of someone who held all the winning cards. Coalition Forces. This is Commander Sarah Mills of the Human Expeditionary Force. You are currently experiencing the initial phase of Operation Crucible. Your facilities have been evacuated, your security forces have been neutralized, and your industrial capacity has been appropriated for human use. Mordak tried to respond, but the human transmission continued without pause. For 30 years you have treated humanity as a source of cheap labor and raw materials. You believed we were primitive, compliant, and easily controlled. You were mistaken on all counts. The tactical display updated automatically, showing the true scope of human operations. Facilities the Coalition thought were offline had actually been captured intact. Shipyards they believed destroyed were now producing vessels of hybrid human Coalition design. Industrial centers they assumed abandoned were manufacturing weapons specifically designed to exploit Coalition weaknesses. You wanted to see what humans do when diplomacy fails, Commander Mills continued. Congratulations, you're getting a demonstration. The transmission ended, leaving the Coalition Command Center in silence except for the steady stream of damage reports flowing in from across their territory. Admiral Mordak studied the tactical situation with the growing certainty of someone facing an impossible opponent. Humanity had just revealed capabilities that shouldn't exist, executed a coordinated operation across dozens of star systems, and demonstrated technology that made Coalition science look primitive by comparison. But the most terrifying realization wasn't what humanity had accomplished. It was how long they had been planning it. Contact the Council of Species, Mordak ordered. Inform them that we are not facing a human uprising. We're facing a human war plan that has been 30 years in the making. Velquan looked at the spreading pattern of red markers on the tactical display. What are your orders, sir? Mordak considered the question carefully. The Coalition had the largest military force in galactic history, superior numbers, and technological advantages that should have made victory inevitable, but they were fighting an enemy that had spent 3 decades studying their every weakness while hiding their own true strength. Signal all fleet commanders, he said finally. Full mobilization. Every available ship, every reserve unit, every alliance member. If we're going to war with humanity, we're going to need everything we have. He paused, watching more red markers appear on the display. And pray to whatever gods you believe in that everything we have is enough. The Council of Species had never convened in such chaos. Representatives from 17 different alien civilizations filled the massive chamber aboard the dreadnought Cosmic Harmony, their voices creating a symphony of panic in dozens of languages. Emergency sessions were supposed to be orderly affairs, but order had become a luxury the Coalition could no longer afford. High Counselor Mordak stood before the assembled delegates, holding a data tablet that contained the most disturbing intelligence, reports in galactic history. Behind him, the main display showed a tactical map of Coalition space that looked like it was bleeding. Red markers indicated human activity, and there were far too many red markers. Esteemed delegates, Mordak began, his voice carrying the weight of impending disaster. We are facing an enemy that does not exist. Confusion rippled through the chamber. Representative Kilmara of the Tessarian Collective raised her crystalline appendage. Explain this contradiction, High Counselor. How can we be at war with an enemy that does not exist? Mordak activated the display, showing intelligence assessments that had been accurate for 3 decades. According to our best information, humanity possesses approximately 300 vessels of primitive design, minimal industrial capacity, and technology inferior to our smallest member species. Their population is scattered across 47 worlds, serving as laborers in our facilities. He paused, then activated a second display showing current tactical reports. In the past 72 hours, human forces have conducted simultaneous operations across 12 star systems. They have captured 3 major shipyards, neutralized 7 fleet patrol groups, and evacuated 17 million personnel from Coalition facilities without our sensors detecting the evacuation ships. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If the intelligence was accurate, humanity lacked the capability to conduct such operations. If the operations were real, the intelligence was completely wrong. Representative Veltar of the Hegemony War Council stood to address the assembly. High Counselor, you are suggesting that our entire understanding of human capabilities is incorrect. This seems improbable. Before Mordak could respond, Intelligence Officer Kixara entered the chamber carrying classified reports that would shatter everything the Coalition thought they knew about their human subjects. "Delegates," Kixara announced, "we have discovered the location of the missing Ninth Fleet." Every representative in the chamber turned toward the Intelligence Officer. The fate of Admiral Barnes and his 50,000 personnel had been a mystery that haunted Coalition command structure for months. "The Ninth Fleet was not destroyed or captured," Kixara continued. "For the past 3 months, it has been conducting deep reconnaissance operations throughout Coalition space, mapping our facilities, recording our communication frequencies, and identifying strategic weaknesses in our defensive networks." The tactical display updated to show the true scope of human intelligence operations. The missing fleet hadn't been lost. It had been working. Mordak found his voice first. "Are you saying the Ninth Fleet's disappearance was intentional?" "Yes. Sir, Admiral Barnes and his forces deliberately went dark to avoid detection while conducting what may be the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. Every Coalition facility, every trade route, every military installation has been observed, analyzed, and cataloged. Representative Zilmoth of the Outer Rim territories processed this information with growing alarm. How long has this intelligence operation been active? Chixara consulted her classified files. Based on communication intercepts and behavioral analysis, approximately 30 years, since first contact. The chamber erupted in shocked voices as the true scope of human deception became clear. For 3 decades, humanity had appeared to be a conquered species serving Coalition interests. In reality, they had been conducting the longest and most detailed espionage operation in recorded history. Every human worker was a spy, Chixara continued. Every mining facility was an observation post. Every transportation request was a reconnaissance mission. While we believed we were managing a primitive labor force, they were building the most comprehensive intelligence network in the galaxy. High Counselor Mordak studied the evidence with the growing certainty that the Coalition had made a catastrophic error in judgment. What else have we missed? The intelligence officer activated another display showing human technological capabilities that had been hidden from Coalition observation. They possess fusion weapons capable of cracking moons, quantum computers that can break our encryption in real time, and what appears to be functional time manipulation technology. Stunned silence filled the chamber as delegates tried to process information that violated everything they thought they knew about galactic civilization. More importantly, Chixara added, they have been using our own communication networks against us. Every message we send, every tactical plan we develop, every strategic discussion we conduct, they monitor all of it. We've been fighting an enemy who knows our moves before we make them. Representative Veltar found his voice. How is this possible? Our security protocols are the most advanced in the galaxy. Because they built the maintenance systems, Chixara replied grimly. Human technicians have been servicing our communication arrays for decades. What we thought was routine maintenance was actually comprehensive network infiltration. The implications were staggering. The Coalition's greatest strength, their advanced communication and coordination capabilities, had been turned into humanity's greatest intelligence asset. Admiral Zorketh of the combined fleets studied the tactical reports with professional interest. What about their military capabilities? Our fleet commanders report impossible technologies and tactics that don't match any known human doctrine. Chixara pulled up combat recordings from recent engagements. They're using our own weapons against us, sir, but not in the way we expected. They've reverse-engineered our technology, improved it, and combined it with innovations we didn't know they possessed. The display showed human vessels firing coalition-designed plasma cannons powered by fusion reactors that shouldn't exist, targeting systems that predicted enemy movements with impossible accuracy. Defensive shields that deflected energy weapons by phases that violated known physics. They haven't just learned to use our technology, Chixara explained. They've learned to use it better than we do. High Counselor Mordak reviewed the intelligence reports one final time, searching for some factor that might tip the balance back toward coalition advantage. He found none. Recommendations? He asked the assembly. Admiral Zorketh was the first to respond. Full mobilization. Every ship, every alliance member, every available resource. If we're fighting an enemy with 30 years of preparation time, we need overwhelming force to compensate. Representative Kilmara disagreed. Perhaps negotiation would be more prudent. If humans possess the capabilities described in these reports, military action may be inadvisable. Negotiation? Veltar's voice carried disbelief. They've been deceiving us for 3 decades. They've infiltrated our most secure systems. They've stolen our technology and turned our own networks against us. What possible terms could we offer that would satisfy an enemy with such advantages? Mordak considered the question carefully. The coalition had spent centuries believing. They understood the balance of power in the galaxy. They had classified species based on technological development, military capability, and strategic value. Humanity had been rated as primitive, compliant, and useful primarily for manual labor, but the humans had been rating the coalition as well, and their assessment had apparently been far more accurate. Signal all fleet commanders, Mordak ordered. Battle stations throughout coalition space, maximum alert status, and prepare a priority message to all member species. What message, High Counselor? Mordak looked at the tactical display where red markers continued to spread like an infection, consuming healthy tissue. Somewhere out in the dark between stars, Admiral Barnes and the missing Ninth Fleet were continuing operations that the coalition was only beginning to understand. Tell them we are at war with an enemy we never bothered to know, he said. And we may have already lost. The session ended with delegates rushing to contact their home governments, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia had just discovered they had been outsmarted by the species they had dismissed as primitives. But the most terrifying realization was yet to come. If humanity had been planning this war for 30 years, what other surprises were they prepared to deploy? Space around Nexus Central had never seen so many warships gathered in one location. The Coalition's final gambit stretched across 3 star systems, over 2,000 vessels representing every species in their alliance, every technological advantage they possessed, every military innovation developed over centuries of galactic domination. Admiral Kate Reynolds observed the enemy fleet from the bridge of her flagship Retribution, studying formations that would have been impossible to defeat just months earlier. Beside her, Admiral Rick Barnes reviewed tactical data with the calm satisfaction of someone whose 3-month intelligence operation was about to pay the ultimate dividend. They brought everything, Rick noted, gesturing toward the tactical display. Every dreadnought, every battle cruiser, every support vessel in Coalition space. It's the largest military force in galactic history. Kate nodded, then activated the display showing humanity's true fleet disposition. Good. That means when we break them here, there won't be anything left to continue the war. The human fleet numbered barely 800 vessels, but those numbers told only part of the story. The Ghost Armada had revealed itself completely, now emerging from hiding places throughout the system to take positions that shouldn't have been possible to achieve without detection. Commander Sarah Mills reported from her position aboard the experimental vessel Breakthrough. All temporal weapons are charged and ready. Quantum disruptors are locked onto primary targets. Viral programs are prepared for upload to coalition networks. Captain Dave Morgan, commanding humanity's newest technological marvel, confirmed readiness from weapons that existed in multiple timelines simultaneously. Time displacement systems are operational. We can strike their command vessels before they give the order to attack. But Admiral Reynolds understood that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technological, it was psychological. The Coalition had spent centuries developing tactical doctrines based on fighting predictable enemies who followed established rules of warfare. They had never faced an opponent that treated impossible odds as personal challenges rather than reasons for surrender. "Signal all human vessels," Kate ordered. "Transmit on all Coalition frequencies so their commanders can hear this." The communication array activated, broadcasting her voice across both fleets simultaneously. "Coalition forces, this is Admiral Kate Reynolds of the Human Expeditionary Force. You have assembled the largest military armada in galactic history to destroy a species you believe is primitive and inferior. You outnumber us more than 2-1. You possess superior individual ship capabilities. By every measure of conventional warfare, you should achieve decisive victory." She paused, letting the confidence in her voice carry across space to alien commanders who were beginning to understand they had made a fundamental error in judgment. "But you made one critical mistake. You assumed we would fight by your rules. The first human attack came from directions that violated basic tactical principles. Instead of engaging the Coalition fleet where it was strongest, humanity struck at targets that didn't appear to exist. Captain Dave Morgan's breakthrough opened fire on Coalition vessels 5 minutes before the battle officially began, using temporal weapons that created causality loops in local space-time. Enemy ships found themselves taking damage from weapons that hadn't been fired yet, their own defensive systems turning against them as effects preceded causes. The Coalition's command structure evolved over centuries of fighting honorable opponents, who announced their intentions and followed predictable attack patterns, collapsed when faced with tactics that existed outside linear time. Admiral Mordak watched his carefully planned formations dissolve as ships throughout his fleet reported impossible damage from weapons that appeared to fire backwards through time. "How do we fight an enemy that attacks us yesterday?" he demanded of his tactical officers. No one had an answer because no one had ever faced such a question before. Commander Sarah Mills led the second wave of attacks, targeting Coalition vessels, with weapons that shouldn't have been able to penetrate their shields. The quantum disruptors phased through energy barriers without interacting with them, striking hull plating and internal systems directly. Viral programs uploaded themselves to Coalition computers through communication channels, turning friend or foe identification systems into targeting computers that painted their own fleet as hostile. But the most devastating human tactic wasn't technological innovation. It was the complete abandonment of tactical predictability. Where Coalition commanders expected frontal assaults, humans struck from flanking positions that required impossible navigation through gravity wells. Where aliens anticipated defensive formations, humanity launched suicide attacks that traded single ships for entire squadrons. Admiral Barnes, commanding the returned Ninth Fleet from his position behind enemy lines, demonstrated what 3 months of intelligence gathering could accomplish. His forces struck at precise points in the Coalition formation, targeting command, vessels whose destruction would cascade through the entire enemy network. The aliens had built their fleet around centralized command structures that prioritized coordination and efficiency. Humanity had studied those structures for 30 years, identifying every critical node, every communication relay, every point of failure that could bring down the entire system. When the Coalition's flagship Cosmic Harmony exploded under concentrated human fire, taking High Counselor Mordak and the entire command staff with it, the alien fleet didn't just lose its leadership, it lost its ability to function as a coordinated force. Individual ship captains found themselves fighting a war they didn't understand against an enemy that seemed to possess impossible capabilities. Human vessels appeared, and disappeared like ghosts, struck with weapons that bypassed all known defensive systems and employed tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Captain Tom Bradley, leading a squadron of hybrid human coalition vessels, broadcast the message that would echo through galactic history. Coalition ships, you are fighting the species that spent 10,000 years at war with itself before it ever left its home planet. We didn't learn warfare from you, we taught it to ourselves through trial by fire. The psychological impact was devastating. Coalition forces were trained to fight against opponents who shared their basic understanding of how battles should be conducted. They had never faced an enemy that treated warfare not as a necessary evil, but as a complex problem to be solved, through any means necessary. As coalition ships fell around them, alien commanders began to understand the true scope of their miscalculation. They weren't fighting a primitive species that had recently developed space travel. They were fighting the graduates of humanity's own savage evolutionary history, a species that had survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and constant warfare against itself for millennia before encountering alien civilization. Admiral Reynolds opened a final communication channel to the surviving coalition vessels. You treated us like children playing with toys we didn't understand. You forgot that humans have been solving impossible problems since before your species developed civilization. The battle's outcome had become inevitable, but Kate continued speaking because the surviving aliens needed to understand what they had awakened. You wanted to see our true nature. You demanded to know what humans become when pushed beyond all limits. Congratulations. You've discovered that we become very good at ending threats to our survival. The last coalition resistance collapsed when their remaining command vessels attempted to withdraw from the battle zone. Human ships, moving faster than coalition sensors could track, intercepted the retreating forces and demonstrated that there would be no escape from the consequences of 30 years of oppression. Captain Julie Ross, commanding humanity's newest vessels, delivered the final message to the few coalition ships that remained operational. Signal your home governments. Tell them that humanity accepts the coalition's surrender, effective immediately. All human worlds are now under human sovereignty. All coalition military forces will withdraw to their core systems and remain there. She paused, allowing time for translation into 17 different alien languages. And tell them that if any coalition species ever threatens human interests again, we won't bother with ultimatums or diplomatic warnings. We'll simply solve the problem. The battle ended not with dramatic explosions or heroic last stands, but with the quiet recognition that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently. The coalition's largest military force had been defeated by an enemy they had never bothered to understand. Admiral Reynolds stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching alien vessels limping away from the battle zone, carrying news that would reshape galactic civilization. The species that had dominated space for centuries had just learned that there were consequences for underestimating others. Earth's sun rose over a world no longer bound by alien oversight, while across the galaxy, human ships patrolled systems that had once been forbidden to them. The Ninth Fleet had returned exactly as promised, bringing with them the independence that humanity had demanded and the respect that they had earned through 30 years of patient preparation. The final entry in Admiral Reynolds' official log read simply, "Mission accomplished. The coalition demanded to see what humans do when diplomacy fails. Today they received their answer. Humanity is free." In the years that would follow, galactic historians would study the human victory at Nexus Central as a masterpiece of strategic deception and tactical innovation. But they would miss the most important lesson. Never underestimate a species that learned warfare from 10,000 years of fighting for survival on a world that tried to kill them every single day. The age of human subservience was over. The age of human independence had begun. And across the galaxy, 17 alien species would spend the rest of their civilizations remembering the price of treating humans as anything less than equals.